Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Destiny video. Today Fantasy Flight released even more spoilers to some of the community content creators and podcasters, that being Chance Cube, Starkiller Base, and Rebel Gray. I'm just going to go over the spoilers that they received. I'll have links in the description to where you can check out all of their channels. I'm going to start here with this very first card. So first up, we have Dark Advisor. Eight health for 8 points, so a 1-to-1 ratio. Blue non-unique villain character. One indirect damage, two indirect damage, focus, resource, special, and blank. In special, draw 3 cards, then place a card from your hand on top or bottom, the top or bottom of your deck. Pretty cool, especially if you want to be able to, let's say you have an event that lets you play something for cheaper. Maybe put that back on top after you draw hand out. Good health. Again, 2 damage sides. Has a focus, resource as well, and then you get through your deck faster. So if you draw 3 cards, you draw a card that you might not be able to use. Let's say it's a card that requires you to spot a color that you might not have anymore. That can go on the bottom. This would be really interesting to see with Maz's Castle. So you draw 3 cards, put a card on the bottom, uses Maz's Castle. Let's say you have your hand's empty, draw 3, put a card on the bottom, then claim the battlefield, and draw 2, put another one on the bottom. Lets you get to your good cards faster. So again, we have 2 damage sides and this interesting special. You can also focus, make resources, and then has a 1-to-1 health to point cost. So that is the Dark Advisor. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have the Clone Trooper. 8 cost for 8 health. Again, a 1-to-1 ratio. Hero Red character. Kind of wished this was a neutral, but Hero Red. 1 range, 2 indirect, resource, double blanks, and after you activate this character, you may reroll this die, or if you control the battlefield, you may reroll one of your character dice. So if you don't roll the battlefield, let's say you roll a blank, you get to reroll it. If you do control the battlefield, let's say you roll 2 damage, you can reroll one of your other character dice, which is pretty cool. So 3 damage sides, and the resource, and cool ability that lets you, kind of like the Z6, the Riot Baton. So after you roll that into your pool, get to re-roll it. So when this Clone Trooper rolls out, if you get a blank, or let's say you don't really need a resource, you can re-roll that in hopes of getting one of the 3 damage sides. Again, a 1-to-1 ratio on its health. And cool ability. One thing I do wish, again, like I said, was I wish this was a neutral card, so you could have it in both hero and villain decks. As they started out on the hero side, and then in episode 3, once Order 66 got activated, they went over to the villain side. So that is the Clone Trooper. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have the E11 Blaster, neutral red. Pretty cool because this is generally a Stormtrooper weapon. But of course, heroes in the films use these as well from from fallen stormtroopers just grabbing these or stealing them or whatever it would be. But 2 resources, 1 range damage plus 2 range damage, 2 indirect, 1 shield, resource blank. Also has redeploy, so you get that get to move it to another character once that character is defeated. Kind of the precursor to the F11D. Really like it. So 3 damage sides plus redeploy, and then resource and shield as well. So E11 Blaster. I don't really know how much it'll see play. Maybe in like red gun decks, because I do like the redeploy and then the modified side as well, and also that indirect. So that's the E11 Blaster. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have the Vibro Cutlass. 4 resources, neutral yellow weapon. 2 melee damage, 3 melee damage for a resource, 4 melee damage for a resource, 2 disrupt, 2 shields, and a blank. Has redeploy, and decrease the resource cost on this die by 1 while this upgrade is on a yellow character. So on a yellow character, you have a 2, a 3, a 4 with no resource cost. Let's say that character gets defeated, he goes off to a red character. Then those resource costs come back. But solid damage side, so you have a 2, a 3, and a 4. Also has good disrupt and good shield size on it. Redeploy and basically free damage on a yellow character. I can see this being a card that you overwrite to. So a 2-cost upgrade, and then you pay 2 to get this. And then, again, play it on that yellow character so you don't have to pay for any of those damage sides. So really strong damage sides. And again, good size all around. Like that it's neutral, so you can throw this in like a Hondo deck. Because Hondo's a neutral character, so you can throw this on him, and he can be in a hero or a villain deck. And then also has redeploy. So once that character gets defeated, you can move it off to another character. Again, if you're running a monocolored deck, those resource reductions will come over. If you're running blue or red and that yellow character dies, you then have to pay the 1 resource for those sides. But solid die. I think good cost, especially if you go over and try to play a 1 or a 2 cost upgrade on something and then overwrite to this later. So that is the Vibro Cutlass. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have the Canto Bite Pistol. 3 resources, 3 neutral gray weapon. So 3 damage, 3 range for a resource, 2 indirect, 1 shield, 1 resource, special and blank. Also has redeploy. And special, deal 2 damage to a character or 3 damage instead if it is a villain. So can hit something for 2, hit neutrals or heroes for 2, and if it goes after a villain, it does 3 damage. Pretty solid special, especially if you can get it off or use cunning to trigger it or something like that. Let's see, so 3 damage sides overall with the 3 range, the 2 indirect, and then the special, and then redeploy. So 3 resource for that seems pretty good. I like the special, especially if you're going to be playing against a villain deck. You're going to be getting 3 damage with that special. And then also has shield and resource as well. So that is the Canto Bite Pistol. We're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have Outnumber, Villain Gray Event, 1 resource. Play only if an opponent has fewer characters in play than you. Remove 1 of that opponent's dice. So pay 1, let's say you're playing say battle droid deck, and you have 6 battle droids. If they have less characters than 6, or they have, let's say they have 5, or even 4, like 3 or 4, whatever, you pay 1 resource, and you can remove 1 of those dice. Pretty solid removal. So just one resource, get rid of an opponent special, get rid of that really big damage side showing, and things like that. Like the artwork like that, we got Krennic on there with his Death Trooper squad. So pretty simple, especially if you're playing a deck that has a massive amount of characters or like a lot of characters. Definitely could be useful to have this in there. You pay that 1, remove that die. Simple as that. So that is Outnumber. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Light 'em Up. 1 resource, red hero event. Reroll 1 of your dice. If it just rolled range damage, you may resolve that die and another 1 of your dice, showing range damage, increasing 1 of their values by 2. So, I could see this working just with overkill. We got even based on the artwork for both of those cards. Let's say hold a blank on overkill, and you have another die on like 1 range damage. Roll overkill, and then resolve the normal range damage, and then increase the overkill by 2, which could just be insane. So a potential for insane amounts of damage with this card. You also get the benefit of re-rolling, and then you can resolve those 2 dice. So the one that you re-rolled and another die already showing range damage. I can imagine this might play well with like something like Swiftness. Give this ambush, reroll 1 of the dice, resolve 2 of them, increasing 1 of them by 2, and then just resolve the rest of your range damage if you had other range damage showing or melee damage or whatever else you have out. So Light 'em Up could definitely, I could see, do a potential amount of damage, good amount of damage with this card. Definitely interested to see how this would work in have a Leon Mothma deck. I might have to rebuild that, but really interesting card there. So that is Light 'em Up. We're gonna move into our next card. Next up, we have Quick Draw, 0 resources, yellow neutral event. Play a weapon from your hand on 1 of your characters, paying its cost. You may activate that character. Right away, I can just see this being insane on Sabine. So let's say you have this in your hand. You have, let's say, a thermal paint in your discard pile. You have then an ambush weapon in your hand for 2. Let's say you have a total of 3 resources out. You play the ambush weapon. You play, or you, first of all, you play quick draw. Play the ambush weapon. Activate Sabine, which will then trigger her ability to get something out of her discard pile, or out of the discard pile, decreasing its cost by 1 if it's thermal. You throw on thermal paint, and then roll in, and then you have an ambush action on top of that. So I just see this being insane in decks like decks with Sabine, decks with Cad Bane. Really strong effect here. Basically, you just get to play a weapon and roll in. And then if it's an ambush weapon, you play that weapon, play a quick draw, play an ambush weapon, roll in and resolve, which could be potentially devastating, just doing a massive amount of damage. Especially if you have something like Thermal Pain on a character where you can discard it to deal 2, it goes back into the discard pile, and then you can do this all again later. Say like play the Thermal Paint back on Sabine for 1 less, and so on. So again, play a weapon from your hand on a character that pays its cost, and then activate the character. But we're going to move into our next card. Next up, we have Well Connected, 0 resources. Spot a yellow character to gain 1 resource. Each opponent may draw a card. So 0 cost event gives you a resource, so that's always good. And then you are also giving your opponent the ability to draw a card. So I'm not sure, how likely this is to get played. If it's in a deck that's like short on resources, it's definitely a good way to get a resource. So you get that resource, and then each opponent may draw a card. However, that just goes for each opponent. You also don't get to draw a card on top of that. So you're definitely giving them some kind of card advantage by playing this card and getting the resource. So it could be risky because you might be giving them something a turn early. Let's say they have a card in their deck and they have no other way to draw a card until the beginning of the next round. You play this, you get that resource, but then they get to draw that card, and it may be something that is like an upgrade they can play, or an event that lets them do something pretty cool. So you do have to weigh it out. Is it worth getting that resource over giving each of my opponents the ability to draw a card? So that is Well Connected. That is the last card that was given out to the community podcast and all that. There'll be a link in the description where you can check out all of their channels. Again, these came from Rebel Gray, Starkiller Base, and the Chance Cube. So definitely go ahead and check them out. They all have some awesome Destiny content to show. That's going to do it for this video. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.